Hey, what's up? 2020 was pretty fun, yeah? Well, to start 2021 off well, I have here 5 incredibly good builds to lead you through whatever nightmare 2021 may be. I mean, who knows at this point? Better safe than sorry, right? These builds will all be different, so you can find something that best fits your playstyle. Each build will be using a separate perk deck from what in my eyes are the 5 strongest decks in the game. These are in order of least strong to most strong in the way I experience them. You may be better with one than another, so don't take this as a top 5 builds 2021, because naming builds like that never ends well. For this video, I'll be showing you the skills and setup for the build, and then afterwards I'll explain it and show gameplay of it. Yes, this is the starting point, as in I consider this the least strong of the bunch. Only way up is to go, fuck, whatever, you get the point. Every now and then using this build in pubs, I get asked, how are you not using your ammo bags instantly? Well, I'll tell you the secret, Berserker. Some people will tell you that Krenkov's and body expertise is enough, and that Berserker is unneeded and completely overkill. Some people are wrong. Well, not really, but that's not gonna stop me. The reason for this is the fact that without Berserker, you are relying on crits to help with ammo to not burn ammo bags. With Berserker, however, you can always one-shot heavy swats, crits or not, meaning you will actually be ammo positive with the Krenkovs. Of course, this means that you will have to be fighting only normal enemies instead of special ones. Those will still drain your ammo. But you did hear me right. I did say ammo positive in the same sentence as Krenkovs. Trust me, there is a method to my madness, and madness it is. This build puts out an absurd amount of damage, and with careful fire control you can even go without needing those ammo bags you brought. But face it, playing carefully is not what the Krenkovs are about. When the time is right, drop an ammo bag, turn up your sound effects, and let loose. With a build this stupid in damage output, why did I put it at the bottom of this list? Well, that's about all this build offers. You have no team skills, and doing objectives alone will be pretty tough. This build is a lot more about slaughtering everything on the map so you can leave the rest of the game to your team. But, if you want to be a weenie, then you can move around a few points to get inspired. Build it however you want, really. It's not like any of this matters since you're bringing ammo anyway. You may be thinking, armor with first aid kits? Well, that's what I thought when I saw this concept being used in a pub. The person using this build was quite a mystery, but they're easily the best player I ever met in this game, and I'd be willing to bet that they are the best player in this game. Despite the fact that they used a mod to crash me after they saw me using their build, whoever that was has really changed the way I think about build making. But that's besides the point. Armor, despite being one of the oldest perk decks in the game, remains one of its best. On top of that, it's the most consistent perk deck in the entire game. If you're wondering what that means, then I can explain. Armor has 2 shots of armor every region, as well as 2-second God mode. This allows the deck to basically ignore all the bullshit in this game. Through all snipers, grace ignoring cops, whatever the fuck this is. Armor survives through it all. The only real way for you to die is from fall damage, or doing something really stupid. So if you have a perk deck that allows you to basically never take health damage, and you combine it with a deployable that allows you to prevent downs, you have yourself an unkillable combo. Unless Ping doesn't want to cooperate. Pair that with an LMG, and you have a build to face any map under any circumstance. So, what makes this build better than the Anarchist Krinkov build? A few factors. The first is the survivability. Yes, Anarchist has good survivability, but it's not armor. Like I already said, it would be pretty tough to actually die with this build. To add to that, you have team skills, first aid kits for yourself and your team, and you have an extremely ammo-efficient weapon. While the Krinkovs work fine, they still need the ammo bags for backup. LMGs have no need. This build can also be made into a non-DLC setup, which allows more people to use it. Just switch out the Buzzsaw for the KSP-58 and the Commando for the Compact 40. Hacker is an extremely interesting perk deck. Many people build Hacker to maximize their dodge chance, and yes, Hacker does have the highest consistent dodge chance in the game, sitting at a solid 75. However, interestingly enough, this is not Hacker's strong suit. Hacker's real power lies in its healing. Yep, every kill under the ECM feedback will give you 20 health, meaning in just about 11 kills, you can completely shrug off a heavy SWAT shot. But how will you be able to keep up with the killing required to heal this much? Well, the Akimbo Goliaths. If you've ever played with them, you know that they pack a serious punch. Wow, they had families, you know? Well, had. Anyway, with this combo of weapon and perk, you can tear up crowds of virtual humans and question how the Goliaths even got past balance testing at Overkill. The secondary weapon will be the one and only Judge. Slap Dragon's Breath rounds on it and you have an equally deadly secondary weapon, as well as the ability to deal with long-range targets, which is basically the Akimbo Goliath's only weakness. Since Hacker is a free perk deck, you can make this build into a non-DLC setup as well, by just switching the Dragon's Breath Judge into a 5.7 pistol. You will lose a fair bit of killing potential, but you keep that long-range capability, as well as a backup to whenever the Goliaths can't do something. Now, what makes this build better than the armor build I showed? Simply enough, your ability to support the team with your pocket ECM. The ECM stun is great for yourself, but that doesn't mean you should use it just on yourself. The first aid kits are also great, both for feeding your teammates and for pushing objectives. There is something important to mention, however, the fact that your ECM can also hurt your teammates. The healing doesn't just apply to you, it applies to everyone. Any kills your team makes during the ECM will heal them for 10 health. This is great, unless they have Berserker, in which case hacker players make their life a minor struggle. Since Berserker blocks third-party healing effects, and the ECM effect is a buff rather than a heal, you can really screw with your team depending on their build compositions. This is very annoying, but keep in mind, it's also fucking hilarious. Kingpin, how I love thee. Sadly, this perk deck is unavailable unless you bought it before it was taken off the market, meaning some people will not be able to use this build. But, it's my video, so I'm putting it here anyway. Now, I should put a warning. This build is incredibly addicting. It is very easy to play way too much of this build due to how fun and stupidly strong it is. Considering the weapon choice, you are quite a danger to yourself, right? Well, not really. Other dual explosive builds, such as Sociopath, Hacker, and Anarchist, are also really effective. They have one downside, however, in that you can hurt yourself if you aren't careful. Kingpin is the only deck that does not have this problem. Hit the injector and blow everything into space. Note, however, that your team is not immune to this build, and you could screw things up royally if you aren't cautious. With that said, this build completely stomps high spawn rate maps. My favorite maps to play this build on are Panic Room for the roof control, Hell's Island for the tight spawns, and Henry's Rock. This is my go-to build for public Henry's Rock. I just park myself in the main room and start destroying enemy spawn points harder than COVID destroyed the restaurant industry. For this build, I suggest using the little friend underbarrel grenade launcher until things need to get more serious. With Bulletstorm, the commando will just do insane damage, and easily takes the award for best crowd control weapon in the game, no competitors. It takes no aim, no effort, and will one-shot everything that isn't a dozer. Well, there's explosion duping, but that's something for another day. It is such a shame, however, that this build has such lengthy reloads. Would be great if there was some way to speed them up, right? Well, that's what Bloodthirst is for. Going for melee skills in a Kingpin build is pretty uncommon, but in this build, it's just oh so worth it. The only thing better than a grenade launcher is a faster grenade launcher. The melee also works as a nice backup for dozer killing if your full auto 100 stability 100 accuracy DMR doesn't work. Speaking of, you will only really be using the little friend's DMR mode for snipers and dozers. However, it does help with getting converts as well, since both explosives tend to cause a severe case of death to the body of those you are trying to convert. Personally, I like first aid kits on this setup to prevent going down in the first place, but there's nothing stopping you from going the Dr. Bag route either. And if you really want to be a killjoy, then you can drop the melee skills and go for Inspire. Now, what puts this build above the Hacker build? Well, it has an even higher killing potential at the cost of needing ammo bags, similar to the Anarchist build. The difference, however, is that Kingpin is just a ridiculous perk deck. There is literally no downsides to this build, other than the fact that it's no longer obtainable for some people. There's no real replacement for it, which really does suck, but for those who are able to use it, I suggest you give it a go. No, 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 no. This isn't 2016 going into 2017, this is 2020 going into 2021. Get that Stone Age garbage out of here.
Please clap.
You know it, you love it, or hate it, I don't know, who cares. If you want to build to match that mentality, then this is for you. ICTV Stoic basically makes the game run on easy mode, and there's really not much to talk about. I see this type of build being used often with body expertise, which may or may not be my fault as well. But people are often turned off about the idea of non-body expertise LMGs. But look, it's the KSP, or KSP-58 if you want this without DLC. It's a really controllable gun. Even I, CEO of Amond, can get headshots with it. And that means that anyone can. If you want to build for stupid and careless plays, this is it. If you want to build for when your team doesn't feel like helping, this is it. If you want to build for when your team insists on camping in an area that is effectively a death trap, this is it. Get a convert and you're set. In a weird twist, this build can go down a fair amount by lulling you into its tankiness and causing you to do something a little too wild. Also, watch out for tasers. Since you can't flask while being tased, tasers can pretty quickly shut you down if you can't set yourself free. You also can't flask inside vehicles, but that's a much less common problem. Seriously, I have nothing else to add to this, but I don't need to anyway. You've played ICTV Stoic with an LMG before, or at least it's very likely that you have. Well, there you go. 5 builds that will make Death Sentence 1 down pretty easy. Remember that this is just how I run them. You can do whatever you want. Copying builds isn't always the best idea, and since everyone plays differently, move some points around and see what works for you. For example, I don't use 9 lives on my first aid kit armor build, but that's because I'm pretty good at using armor. Subtle flex, I know. If you aren't, then 9 lives might be a good investment. Also, these aren't ultra mega OP builds. If you want that, then just use Goliaths on everyone. In my opinion, however, that's pretty boring. Before I end the video, I want to say a few things on a more serious note. 2020 was a weird year, and everyone had it differently. However, this was a weirdly good year for me. I got to spend a lot of time at home, which gave me time to put more effort into this channel and community. So, wherever you are, I hope that my videos have given you a distraction from the real world, and I hope to continue bringing mediocre weekly entertainment to everyone watching even after this whole virus thing is over. Anyway, 2020, interesting plot but lacking content. 6 out of 10.